obviously this is rage bait, but here's what nobody's really talking about. This campaign is poking at women's greatest and most tender insecurity under the patriarchy, which is desirability and the beauty standard. It affects not only non-white women, even though this is clearly white supremacist, Aryan race propaganda, but it also adversely affects the majority of white women who do not naturally have blonde hair and blue eyes. Because yes, even the women who can achieve this look have to do it through artificial means in one way or another. The vast majority of white women are not naturally blonde. It's a very, very, very small percentage who go on to be naturally blonde in adulthood. Sydney Sweeney herself is not even a natural blonde. And of course, lots of white women are also insecure about having brown eyes. So that's a whole generation of young white women who are being further propagandized to purchase blonde hair dye and contacts for the rest of all time. Another thing about the Sydney Sweeney beauty standard that is very important to note is that big boobs are a hallmark of what conservative men are attracted to. At the end of the early 2000s and through the 2010s, we were becoming a more progressive society, and so we also naturally progressed to be a more ass-centric society. Women of color are more likely to have a naturally fat ass. These things intersect. Imagine that. This campaign using Sydney Sweeney in this way is pushing women to pander to conservative men in their fantasies. And before I go any further, I also think it's important to note, and I can second this based on my own personal life experience, that a lot of conservative men just want to show the world that this is their type. But like the Madonna whore complex, they're actually likely to also be interested in women of color, black women, trans women, and then just hold a woman like Sydney Sweeney up on their arm to show to the world that they are adhering to the white supremacist, patriarchal, capitalistic beauty standards. Because men, and especially conservative men, are male-centered too. And unfortunately, a lot of times the woman on their arm is a lot more about keeping up appearances than it is about what they genuinely desire. But anyway, the messaging for women is that you need to be desirable. This is what desirability looks like. You want to be desirable for men. You know what type of man is into this? Conservative men. That leads women to be conservative women. The birth rate has crashed and is burning. They want women back in the houses, back in the kitchens, popping out babies like there's no tomorrow. And you know what guy is most likely to believe in that specific American vision as well? The same type of guy who wants to have this type of woman on his arm in public. It is a trap. Classic propaganda tactic. It's a whole lot of subliminal messaging packed up in this campaign that will affect the brains of women who are either too young and naive to understand this, or just not the sharpest tool in the shed. Sure, it'll hurt the self-esteem of women of color, but this is actually most dangerous for white women because, again, most white women do not naturally look like this. Even Sydney Sweeney does not naturally look like this. She has to buy a bottle of blonde hair dye every single month. It keeps women on a perpetual hamster wheel of chasing desirability for no one other than men. And who does it serve? The elite's pockets. It's a capitalistic scheme. That's what I mean when I say that capitalism and patriarchy are cults. They tell you how to live your life as though this is the only right way. And oftentimes it's done by a lot of brainwashing and subliminal messaging, and it's in fucking everything. To the untrained eye, the unintelligent eye, this looks like a normal ass campaign where they're just saying Sydney Sweeney is hot. But if you think deeper, if you have critical thinking skills, this is Nazi propaganda. The only way to actually win the capitalism patriarchy game as a woman is to stop finding and putting your value in how well you meet their white supremacist beauty standards and in how horny you make men. Because one day, Sydney Sweeney's gonna be a little too old for their liking, and they're just gonna dump her for the next young blonde, blue-eyed bombshell. And the cycle will continue unless we choose to get smarter and stop absorbing the messaging.